If you're only selling dollar, you're constantly going to lose contracts. You and I are always going to win if you create a culture where your employees, your customers, your partners, your vendors, if you go above and beyond for them, nobody's negotiating money with you. Commission, money, marketing, commission, sales. Hey, just made money. Let's go buy this. Let's go buy this. So there's nothing wrong if you speak the language or you don't speak the language, if you're able to get into that niche and that market. Иди сюда, быстро, как поживаете, хорошо, не знаю, nonstop, all these Russian words.
Очень хорошо.
Yeah. And I'm watching this, I'm like, oh my God, that is so cool. She's so cute. I'm going to give you a 1-hour tour. At the end, you're going to say, I'm not going to sign it with a contract. At the end, you're going to want to only pay $30 a month. You're so cheap, you will not do nothing today. All you do is waste my time. I respect hardworking people. You matter more than you know. And sometimes it's frustrating. My challenge to all of you when you come to an incredible event like this is to recreate yourself.
His content is the best content for entrepreneurs. And I'd like to welcome to the stage Dmitry and Patrick Bet David. Give them a hand, everybody. Come on.
This is happening.
I love it. Roofing.
So here's the thing. So we've been chatting for the past 20 minutes in a green room downstairs. And somehow I mentioned Kurt Lennington. How do you know Kurt?
So show me where he is, by the way. I want to know if the same
Kurt Lennington,
guy.
I am here.
Where is it?
If Kurt is still around, I know it's the guy. But okay, tell us the Kurt that you know and how.
So 23 years ago, I leave Bally Total Fitness and I'm going to LA Fitness in Northridge off of Reseda and Devonshire. And there was a general manager at this club called Kurt Lennington. Good-looking guy, probably 6'1", 6'2", in shape, bold, loud, confident, good smile. And he kept trying to get me to work at LA Fitness. I don't know if it's the same guy. It may be.
He's from South Africa. Right?
And he's from South Africa. He used to work in Arizona, and he went to Northridge for some reason. I'd love to see if it's the same guy, by the way.
Got it. Well, I'm pretty sure that's the guy. It's a very short, small world. My first question to you is, do you remember last time you replaced the roof? Hire a contractor to replace the roof?
I do not. No, we're dealing with it right now. My ops does, my C-suites do, my wife does. I'm more the financier. I bring the money.
So, love it. So they make all of those decisions.
Yes. But I will tell you this. We work with a crew today that if they work with us and they deliver, we don't change. We use the same guy for years. They're two Israeli guys.
How do you look for them? Like if you need new service, where would you go?
There's this website called directory.com. I don't know if you've heard of it. This guy that runs it, let me tell you about him. This is a family guy with 5 kids. The 5th one was an accident. He's got a 27-year-old brother that I think is here somewhere who was serving the military in Russia, and somehow he got away from going to Armenia, Turkey, Spain, Mexico, and eventually here. This guy, you should meet this guy. He's a good guy.
At least he did not say Yelp. I have a couple questions that people have asked today, so I've made a picture, post a picture of you, ask Patrick a question. I'm going to start with that. What is your strategy for closing the job? There's so much competition that sometimes you give up. What can we do to keep our head even with so much competition around you?
So can I ask a question? Raise your hand if you are a founder or the CEO of your business, what you do, just to get a feel. Okay, sounds good. How many of you, before you started the business, were you a salesperson for another company? Were you an installer or were you a crew leader? So let's do if you were sales, if you did sales before you started your company. Okay, can you actually stand up? I want to know what percentage this looks like. If you don't mind standing up, I just kind of want to get a feel. Okay, so it's 18%, 15%. Thank you. Stand up if you were an installer, you chose to start your own company. An installer to start your own company. Okay. All right, so this is like 5, 10%. Stand up if you were a crew leader before you start your own company. So what does everybody else do? So it's a small percentage of our crew leaders. Just curious, what does everyone else do? Just to kind of get a feel for the audience. Are you working for the company? Raise your hand if you're not the CEO of a company. If you're not a CEO of the company. Okay, got it. So some of you guys come here as team. So how do you get competitive in a space like that to win the business over if it's, with so many other people in the industry? I'm in insurance. Anybody's ever sold life insurance before? Raise your hand if you sold life insurance before. Okay. Power to the people in the life insurance industry, right? It is so competitive in the life insurance industry because everybody gets a contract, and then from there, people are stealing from each other, agents, okay? People steal clients from each other all the time. And then eventually you kind of see the ones that are the ones who steal, they eventually kind of work themselves out of the business. The ones who have a very good training internally eventually separate themselves from the rest of the camp, and then the competition gets smaller and smaller and smaller, but they become better and heavier and stronger, and some of them will push their weight and they'll bully you, and you kind of want to work your way up to the top of the competition with everybody else. So for us, I would have an agent come up to me and he would say, and I don't know if this happens to you guys or not, "Hey Pat, I love working for you. You're amazing. You're a great boss, but I was just offered a 110% contract. I know you only pay me 80. If you pay me 110, I'll never leave you." Does that ever happen to you guys here in the business or no? So you guys don't have a challenge with sales. Perfect. So then you have the customer side. Somebody will come and I'm the customer, right? I'm a buyer. As a buyer, I will typically say at the end to you, "Hey, I don't mind doing business with you, but just keep in mind, I have multiple offers. Give me one offer and don't push the envelope to make too much money on me, because if you don't give me your best offer, I'm just going to move on and go to the other people. So don't negotiate with me. If it's going to be $50,000, tell me 50, but don't go 62 and then we eventually have to go to 50. If you give me the number, that's your final offer, I'm moving on, right?" Okay. So then the negotiation starts where you have to sit there and ask me, what do you value the most? And I love this close that Brad Lee does where he says money, cheap, service. Who's seen the Brad Lee close that he does where he explains those three things, right? It really comes down to that, where you're able to tell the customer, I can go cheap if you want to, and I can refer you to somebody else, but they could do a shitty job for you. You're going to have issues a year from now if you want that. You can go to somebody else who may give you and quote you something that's 50% more than mine, but they have a bigger company. And the only reason you're paying $25,000 more to those guys is because they have a bigger name and there's more people that need to get paid between me and them. Or you can choose to work with somebody like me, okay? I have to make my money. I have to pay my guys. I have to pay my expenses, but I'm going to deliver on my promises to you. And the risk that you have to take is knowing that I'm going to come through for you. So then the trust factor comes into place. But in reality, if you're only selling dollar, you're constantly going to lose contracts. If it's constantly going to come down to the dollar, you're always going to lose contracts. I'm reading this book right now called Unreasonable Hospitality. Has anybody read the book Unreasonable Hospitality? You haven't read it? It just came out a couple months ago. Put it on your to-do list. Read the book. When I tell you who wrote it, you'll read the book. I made that our mandatory reading for our insurance company and Valuetainment. So these guys start a restaurant in New York. It's called 11 Madison. Anyone's ever been to 11 Madison in New York? It's the restaurant in New York. And they go from being a restaurant to a 1 Michelin star, to a 2 Michelin star, to a 3 Michelin star. Anybody's been to a 3 Michelin star restaurant before? If you've never been to a 3 Michelin, couple of you guys have. Then they go to 3 Michelin star, and then from 3 Michelin star, they go to the number 10 restaurant in the world, the number 5 restaurant in the world, and then eventually they're ranked the number 1 restaurant in the world, okay? So the guy who ran this restaurant writes a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. So ticket items not going to be cheap if you're going to go there. You're probably going to spend $400 a person. If you're going to buy a bottle of wine, you're looking at spending $800 a person, $600 a person. So they demand high ticket item. They got 85 employees that run the place. I think they did 18 million in a year, a restaurant. One location did 18 million a year with 85 employees. But now watch this. So he says, We noticed that some of our customers like to smoke cigarettes, and they go to the same area to smoke cigarettes. Well, we believe in unreasonable hospitality. The moment you go out there smoking cigarettes, our waiters and waitresses they go out and they see if that's you. They come out and they bring you beer, and they give you options with beer, and they say, hey, this beer goes well with a cigarette. Like, what? Drink this beer. If you come in to the front and you park the car in New York, parking is bad, they'll say, where'd you park your car? XYZ. What is the number for your spot? Oh, 72. Why do you ask? Don't worry about it. So then 45 minutes later, this person's worried about the restaurant. They went and put $2 of coins into the parking spot, or $5, and they come back and said, I got you for another hour. I put $5 into, your parking spot. Oh, hey, I got a flight to go to. Oh, man, we got a flight. These business guys, we got a flight to go to. Hey, here's a bag for your flight, a $50 gift item to go on your flight rather than eating the stuff on the plane. We got high-end chocolate, high-end this, high-end that. Enjoy your travel. If they overhear you closing $1 million deal and the waiter, waitress doing their part, and all of a sudden you say, we just closed $1 million deal, they'll come by and they'll put $100,000 bars, 10 of them, and the customer will say, what's this? Oh, I just overheard you close your first $1 million deal. Here's $1 million for you. Celebrate these 100 grand bars with yourself and your employees. If they see a celebration for an anniversary taking place, rather than just bringing the same old Moet, ghetto champagne that people bring, they signed a contract with Tiffany's, and they bring a Tiffany's back with gifts from Tiffany's that they didn't pay nothing for, and they say, this is from us and Tiffany. Enjoy, happy anniversary to you, congratulations to you. These are the small little things that they do. So what happens is the customers go back, they keep a profile, and they'll say, John, he likes to sit in the same place. Dmitry, would you like to sit at the same table? Mary, table 97, please. Great to see you. Would you like to order the same bottle of wine? Is it the same red wine? Is it the same this? Yes, please, if you don't mind. Fantastic. Boom, they go over there. While you're talking and they're coming to your table, they're taking notes to see what you like and what you don't like, and your profile gets deeper and deeper. So imagine if I get your table, I get a card, say I'm not your usual waiter, I get a card with 17 different things there, and I'm looking at it. This guy hates the Jets. He loves the Giants. He's a big LeBron James fan. He's a Republican. He's a Democrat. He likes money. He's a competitive guy. He's got 3 kids. He's got 2 daughters. His wife is pregnant. Here's a card. By the way, how's your wife doing? What do you mean? I know she was 6 months pregnant. She should be like 6 or 7 months pregnant. How do you know that? Just checking on you. See, that's stuff. Now you don't say, why did my bill say $1,200? You say, let's tip him 50%. Let's tip him 40%. You and I are always going to win if you create a culture where your employees, your customers, your partners, your vendors, if you go above and beyond for them, nobody's negotiating money with you. I used to, when a salesperson becomes a CEO of a company, we were talking upstairs and not upstairs in the other room, and I said, who makes a better operator, okay? I said, do people who run companies, are they better if they were former salespeople, former installers, or former crew leaders? If he's comfortable giving you the answer, he'll give you the answer afterwards. He gave me his opinion. Salespeople sometimes, when they become operators of running a company, what do salespeople always think about? They think about what? Money. Commission, money, marketing, commission, sales. Hey, just made money. Let's go buy this. Let's go buy this. Eventually, I realized I have 7 customers. And this took me 5 years to figure this thing out, and I made a lot of mistakes. My first customer is my employees. They're not my employees. They're my customers. My second customer are my executives. They're different than my employees. They're my executives. You can't treat your employees the same as your executives. Executives got to get treated slightly better than employees. Not in a way where you're demeaning the employees. You just have to know these are guys that you're banking on to do their jobs. And if you take care of them, they're going to drive through their 5 or 10 employees better where you don't have to do that job. So we got employees, we got executives, we got salespeople, we got investors, we got partners, vendors, we got the media, and we got a couple other people that you'll be dealing with as well on the side. So I started looking at these guys and I said, how can I make the experience better for the vendors than the partners? How can I make more of my vendors become partners? How can I make this experience better for my C-suites or my salespeople? I come back from a 3-week program in Boston. I went to Harvard. Not that I went to Harvard. Trust me, my GPA I couldn't go to Harvard High School, let alone Harvard College. I had a 1.8 GPA. I went to Harvard. They had this program called OPM, Owner President Management Program. You need to do 10 million to go there for 3 weeks. And you're with another 144 CEOs from 60 plus countries. And you're spending time together for 3 weeks. And we pretty much do 50 case studies, okay, on different companies. I come back. First thing I said is, this was in 2015. I said, we have to, this year, let's flip it on our partners. What do you mean? I want to host a meeting in December with all our carriers. AIG, you got Foresters, Mutual of Omaha, Lincoln Financial, all these major life insurance companies. They typically take the bill for us. They typically send me to the spa. They typically take all my drink tab. They typically send me to the world. How about we flip it? First week of December, we're going to hold a meeting. It's called a partners meeting. So they came into their first meeting. Everybody was sitting like this. Everybody was sitting like this because they all hate each other. They're all enemies. So I start the meeting and I say, okay, so let me give you guys the context of this meeting. First of all year long this year, you guys have spoiled us and we send you business. And I know we should be expected to be spoiled because we send you a shit ton of business and we should be a little greedy. But I want to let you know I value you because without you, I can't do what I do. So I want to make sure you know about our business planning next year. I want to find out about some of your fears, concerns you have in 2016 or 2017 or whatever. And then we can go from there. So I started the presentation. They still don't know what's going on. Here's our good, bad, ugly. This is what was good in 2016. This is what was bad. This was what's ugly. Here's what we're working on. These are our numbers. These are our goals for the next year. Here's what we like to work on. And then I open it up. What do you guys need help with? What questions do you have for us? The night before we went out to drinks, food, steak, lobster, sushi. First event, only one question was asked. Then at the end, I give everybody a gift. Here's the letters of Warren Buffett. There's a book, a yellow book. If you've not seen it, it's all the letters that Warren Buffett wrote to his shareholders. It's a great book. Here's a gift to all of you guys. Here's a bottle of wine. And here's a charger on the way back. Guys, thank you so much for coming out. All the best to you. They leave. Next year, it went from 12 people. Next year, 20 people. Next year, 30. By the fourth one, the CEO of the largest insurance company in the room got up and he said the following. He says, you know what's crazy? He says, guys, none of us like each other. We're competitors. The only person in the insurance industry who can bring all the mistresses together in the same room and we all get along is Patrick Bet-David. He says, we're all his girlfriend and we're all now getting along. We all want business from him, but he gets us to get along. And I put all the enemies intentionally at the same table with a big ass glass of wine and a bottle of wine. I say, drink up and become friends. So now this last one we did, we had 65, 70 people there. Companies now asking to bring 10 people, 5 people. Moral of the story is this. If I leave you with anything on this short answer that I gave you that's only 30 seconds, if you go above and beyond with service, paying attention to details, doing what the other guy's not going to do, trust me, your customer's not going to ask you about, can you save me $10,000 more here? Ever wonder why beautiful girls date ugly men? You haven't asked that question one more time? Do you think it's just money? Trust me, it's not just money. Do you ever wonder why beautiful women date ugly men? Because typically, extremely handsome men are lazy. In many areas, they're lazy. And ugly men who are not 8s, 9s, and 10s, they kind of have to go a little above and beyond where the other guy's not willing to go in every area. Hence, she doesn't leave him. That's called the ultimate customer service. Hopefully that made sense to you. I'm saying? Okay, go for it.
Love it. You have amazing immigrant story. I've heard you speak a lot about your English early on. I have the same story. Unlike you, I still cannot pronounce Wednesday or spell it. My question is, even yesterday, I have a business owner came to me. This is a lot of business owners in the roofing industry, in construction, first generation. Very hard to learn English. I mean, if they came here in 30s, 40s, they will never probably learn properly. What
in this room?
A lot of people here. Yeah, last night, the guy came to me. He's somewhere here with a wife, and he said, Dmitry, you know, he runs the business. He's trying. What advice would you give to someone who's trying to build a business but barely can speak English? Does he partner with someone? How does he stand above competition?
Well, How many of you, you're immigrants? You weren't born in America. I'm curious. Okay, how many of you guys run your business with your husband and your wife? Raise your hand if it's a husband and wife business. Okay, me too. Where from, by the way? Can you scream out your country on 3? 1, 2, 3. Armenia. Bozgan, I know you. Who else? Where? Mexico. Good. Viva Mexico. Who? Where? Morocco? Good for you. Okay. So, look, there's a couple answers to that. Okay. I'm competing with this agent in Van Nuys, California. His name is Sergey. Okay. Every time I see him, they say, this guy's the #1 producer at AIG. I ask myself, how the hell is this guy beating me? He's got a terrible accent. Every time he talks, you're thinking he's cursing you out. You know, he's rough around the edges, full-blown Russian, and every month, #1, #2, #3, #1, #3, #4, #1, #2, #1, every single month. So finally, my girlfriend at the time, her mother, Svetlana, would go to her place. I learned a little Russian when I was spending time with them. Idzi suda, bistra, kapozhevaytsi, хорошо, не знаю, nonstop, all these Russian words.
Очень хорошо.
Yeah. And one day, this guy shows up. He has no clue I know him because I'm 21 at the time, 22 at the time, and I don't like this guy because he's beating everybody. He's 45, I'm 22, but I'm competitive, right? So I'm sizing him up without acting like I know who he is. Oh, what's your name? Sergey. Sergey. Great to meet you. I know exactly who he is, right? So I'm trying to learn. So what do you do for a living? AIG, insurance, you know. Okay, молодец. What else? Tell me this. I'm learning, right? And then I realized 100% of his customers were all Russian. So there's nothing wrong if you speak the language or you don't speak the language, if you're able to get into that niche and that market. There are Armenians that only want to do jobs with people that are Armenians. And if you're in Glendale, it probably works against you if you don't speak Armenian. There are people in certain demographics in America that only want to do, if you're in San Jose, certain parts, if you don't speak Vietnamese, you're probably not going to land those jobs. Now, if that is your, let's just say your weakness, but your vision is you want to be national. So you're running a roofing business, say you're doing $2 million a year with a niche business, hypothetically. You're making good money, you're netting $500,000, you're netting $400,000, but you want to compete with the bigger guys. You want to start doing 10 a year, 20 a year, 100 a year, whatever the number may be. If your vision's this big, you can't get too big with a niche. So if my vision's this big, late night, you got to learn how to speak English better. Late night, you got to pick up, adult classes. I have a guy that's doing my cigar lounge right now that we just finished up. We built a comedy club and a cigar lounge. And the cigar lounge is a high-end cigar lounge that we built. And we opened it up last week. We had our first cigar there. The two guys that run this construction company, they're Israeli. He's with his crew the other day, speaking fluent Spanish to them. He's 32 years old, fluent Spanish to them. I said, look at this guy, how wise he is. Many of the people in Miami that work in construction, some of them are Hispanic, and they don't necessarily speak good English. For him to learn how to speak Spanish, he gets better workers because they want to talk to a different language. If I'm building a restaurant in a community that, a big chunk of my audience are Italians, you better believe I'm going to learn how to speak Italian. So if you want to build a national business and you don't speak English very well, yes, you can hire somebody to come in that speaks English for now, but long term, you eventually need to learn how to speak English.
My opposite question of that, a lot of people don't like to sell to their own people because of this problem. The problem is your people ask for discounts. If I'm Russian and a Russian comes to me like, hey, can you give me hangout? How do you deal with that objection? If Iranians, probably Mexicans, I know they all do that. It's a culture thing, and that's why so many people don't like to sell to their own people. They want to learn English to go with Americans.
I'm trying to see if I can say this. It's a funny story, but I mean, is this going to make it on YouTube or no?
You tell me.
Okay. Well, let me tell you this. So it's a funny story anyways, okay? So I'm working at Bally's, and I'm working at Hollywood and Chatsworth. Anybody knows Chatsworth or no? Anybody's familiar with Chatsworth? Anybody knows Hollywood? You ever been to Hollywood, California? Okay. Hollywood, California had the biggest Bally's. It was 42,000 square feet. It's where everybody wanted to work at. So in Hollywood, a lot of the customers were Russian that would come in, and Armenian. And I don't know if you've ever dealt with Russians and Armenians. They're very interesting and very aggressive, right? And if they sense this much insecurity in you, they're the ultimate bullies. They will not stop. If they sense this much weakness, if your words, little bit of, they got it, you're weak, you're afraid of something, right? Then in Chatsworth, a lot of our customers were Indians. And after about 20 people that came from different backgrounds, Russian, I realized they would come in, give me best deal, I give you $25 a month, no contract. And I'm like, well, let me tell you the benefits of having a contract with a Bally Total Fitness is the fact that, nah, I don't want contract right now, here's credit card, $25 a month. Then the Indians would come in an SL 500 with a few million in the bank, but they want to pay $3 a month. So I said, no problem. Now, I don't know if this is going to work or not. This is just purely for comic relief to have a little bit of fun. So here's what I did. I found a partner where we did good cop, bad cop. By the way, it worked 90% of the time. I'm not even kidding with you. So here's what we did. Russian would come in, and I'm big and intimidating, and the other guy has to be very opposite of you. Like friendly looking, like nice to look at. And it's just like, very soft. Like they can't be like this. It can't be soft, right? So, Pat, at the front, there's a guy named Dmitry. Here we go. I'll take it. So I go, yes, how you doing? Yeah, I want to buy a membership. No, you don't. Excuse me? You don't want to buy a membership. Yeah, I do. You're not going to buy a membership. Why? Because one, you're not going to spend the money. I'm going to give you a 1-hour tour. At the end, you're going to say, I'm not going to sign it with a contract. At the end, you're going to want to only pay $30 a month. You're so cheap, you will not do nothing today. All you do is waste my time. Who you talk to like this? Who are you talking to like this? So now their egos hit, which I love at this point, right? I said, you're not buying a membership. There's no way you'll buy a membership. He says, I will buy a membership. You will not buy a membership. I will buy a membership. Now we're getting loud, right? So funny when we would do this. They'll say, you know what? I want to talk to your manager. No problem. I'll say, Fernando, go for it. He would come in. Oh, Mr. Dmitry, how are you? I don't like you. You know what he said? He said, I am cheap. He said that? Are you cheap? I am not cheap. Let me help you. Boom. We would sell a membership. The Indian, we would do the same thing. They would buy a membership. So look, if you've been around the block for a while, you have to figure out a way to stand up to bullies as customers. Customers will bully you. Trust me, I'm one of them. Okay, and I know how to bully salespeople all the time because I've dealt with 40,000 insurance agents we've licensed the last 23 years. And I started this at a young age. I know competitors. I know how deceptive they could be, manipulative they could be. Bullies come in many different shapes and forms. If you can right off the bat manage expectation with the customer and you corner them, they can't move. For example, a guy would come in to buy a membership, or even I do with the insurance side. I'm a financial guy, started off with Morgan Stanley, so I have my Series 7, 66, 31, 26, Life and Health. That's my world. Start off, hey, John, Mary, just, one of the things about the clients that I serve, there's a few things that's very important to them, and I want to make sure it's important to you as well. Sure, what are those things? 5 qualities, and then you just list them out. They take their finances very seriously. They don't wait till a rainy day to get an insurance policy. They take action immediately if something is better for them. They're open-minded, yet want to be educated on alternatives, and they pay attention to their defensive strategies. Do any of these 5 match your profile? All 5 of them. Fantastic. Did you just see what happened right there? So as I'm going through, John, I'm so sorry. Earlier, when I asked you the profile, and I said something that was important to them was insurance protection. You said you met that profile, and the fact that you guys make decisions, I'm a little confused right now because based on your profile, you met the clients that I serve. I'm kind of getting the feeling that you're the type of person that maybe wants to think about it. You take too much time, you procrastinate. Do I still have the right read on you as a client, or do you want to work with somebody else? Because this is a relationship I'm going to take very seriously. let's help manage this a little bit better. No, Patrick. We just have a couple questions. It's nothing that we want to move forward. Okay, no problem. What are your questions? Please let me help you out. So this comes with experience, but the other person, the customers, will respect it if you know how to set the records straight respectfully. Everything to me in my life, after having made mistakes with relationships, with friendships, with business, with investors, with anything, 99% of all my headaches in my life happened because I didn't manage expectations up front. And something's telling me you and I have done this together. Marriage. You didn't set up a nuptial agreement that at the beginning causes arguments afterwards. Money. Why are you buying that Louis Vuitton purse, babe? Babe, what do you want me to do? Why are you buying that? Why do we have to give $10,000 to your parents? Your parents, the moment they know we have money, every month they want, I'm so sick of helping your parents. Friction. Instead, babe, here's what I want to do moving forward. What's that? I don't want you to ask me for a penny anymore on money you want to spend on your mom and dad or on your nephew or niece. I don't want you to even ask me for my permission. So how about we do this? What's that, babe? There is my money. There is your money. There is our money. Stuff that you want to do with your money, you don't need to ask me for permission. Stuff that I do with my money, I don't need to ask you for permission. If I buy you a gift, I buy it with my money. If you buy me a gift, you buy it with your money. If we buy the kids gift, we buy it with our money. If I want to do something for my parents, I do with my money. If you want to do something with your parents, you do it with your money. What do you think about this, babe? I like the idea. Fantastic. So then we go to Las Vegas. Right after this, I'm flying out to Las Vegas. We go to a Louis Vuitton store. And this was like a month after we set this whole thing up with finances. She says, yes, I want that blue Louis and I want that brown Louis right there. Can I see it? Babe, how do you like it? I'm just kind of like this. I like it. You like it? Yes, I'm buying it. I'm waiting. See, I'm buying it with my own money. Oh, babe, I love the purse. Beautiful. Go ahead, babe. Pick it up. The more you and I learn to manage every single relationship's expectations upfront, including your customers, you will minimize 99% of your future conflicts.
Love it. Before my next question, I want to read the reply from Kurt. Do you know Patrick Bet-David? Love him. He is awesome. You met him? I have. I had to leave. Otherwise, I would have stayed to meet him again. Great guy. I need to get on his podcast.
Yeah, 23 years ago. I don't even know what he does today, by the way. But this guy is an impressive guy.
He's big.
Yeah.
He's very big, built huge company. Love him. You mentioned partnerships. Few words on the perfect partnerships. We have a lot of guys here who partner up. I see a lot of broken partnerships where sales rep trying to get production guy, offset his weakness, strength. Your advice on perfect business partnership for small business.
So is this is not a 50-50. This is I send you business, you send me business, or is this
50? This is them owning one LLC.
Okay. Here we go. Think about decisions we make quickly emotionally. What are some of the decisions in our lives we make quickly emotionally because we're excited? Okay. For example, marriage. I think he's awesome. She's beautiful. I love her. Let's get married. How about everything else? I don't know, man, but I just love, do you know this feeling? But you know, the other day, her and I were just sitting there and we were watching Patrick, the Notebook. And there was a moment in the movie, I'm telling you, we are the Notebook. I'm like, oh my God. No, this is different. This is very different. Okay. You get married, you go to their wedding, and the game everybody plays at the wedding. All right, bro, we can't tell them we're saying this, but what are your bets? 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Don't tell me you've never played this game. Everybody played at my wedding. Getting married to a white girl. One side, all the Middle Easterns. The other side, all the white people with blue eyes and green eyes. And yeah, this was not going to work out. She is too nice, sweet. That guy is rough around the edges. Holy shit, right? Nobody wanted to dance. Eventually, one guy got up and he says, my groomsman, he says, I've been concerned whether Patrick and Jennifer's marriage is going to work out or not. And I notice a lot of you are also concerned. There's about 500 people at Red Lion, the old Glendale Hilton Hotel. He says, but I finally figured out why this marriage is going to work out. Patrick's from Iran. She's from Texas. They both like oil and weapons of mass destruction. This is going to work out. Everybody gets up dancing. We had a great time. Anyways, but let's go back to decisions we make emotionally. You come to an event like this. You run into somebody. Oh, dude, you're a Laker fan? Me too. Your parents went through a divorce? Dude, what's your wife's name? When is her birthday? They're both Capricorns. This is meant to be. Let's start a business to get LLC on Monday, $1,500, boom. 5 years later, why aren't you at the office? How many vacations are you going to take? Dude, I'm busting my behind. I'm doing all this stuff with the work. Okay, here's how to solve it up front. Get your lawyers. He gets his lawyers. And you simply write an agreement. 50-50 we do right now. What is the formula going to be at any time if you are no longer meeting this commitment that I can buy you out? What's the formula? Well, let's come up together right now because maybe you stop working at some point. Maybe I stop working. It's not fair to you. Why don't we put on a sheet of paper? Okay, what should it look like? Well, Mr. and Mrs. Lawyer, why don't you give us some ideas? Well, typically, what is the formula on how much the company is valued at? Well, if you do less than 10 million, whatever your EBITDA is typically 3 times valuation of that. Okay, if you're between 10 or 30 million, it's 4 times. If it's 30 to 50 million, it's 5 times. It's 50 to 100 million, it's 7 times. Great. Are you good with this? I'm good with this. Okay. So if 3 years from now, you and I have a falling out and we're doing 8 million a year and our EBITDA is 1.1 million, the company is worth 2.2 million, I can buy you out at a 2.2 million valuation. So 1.1 million auto check to you. I get the other 50%, you're out. Game. Put it on paper. What is your commitment? What's my commitment? Who's going to be the leader? Who's the CEO? Who's the final shot caller? It won't work if there's 2 co-CEOs. It is not going to work. Who's the shot caller? Let's decide today. Both of us can agree, but somebody has to be the shot caller. Boom, boom, boom. Great. All of those, and by the way, when I come over here, I would ask all the veterans, the guys that have been around for a while. I don't know the names. He's telling me some of the names. Scott, the story about Dustin was heartbreaking when I heard about at the beginning, which is on your, if I'm saying his name correctly, by the way, 40 years, I think he was born in 1981, and just the whole story with the flight, unbelievable. But whoever the main players here are, I ask the questions about what causes partnerships to not work in the roofing industry, and just make a list. Got it. What if they go through a divorce? That happens. Got it. What if they go through this? What if they want to get their kids involved? What if he wants his kids to work for the company? What if not, out of 10 employees, 5 are his family, only 1 is my family, and now they have like a coup d'etat in the company. How do we manage all this stuff? Then based on that, you talk about it with the person you're going into business with. Our second date, my wife and I, she comes to my house, meets my dad, we go to church, then we went and did the stairs in Santa Monica, the 177 steps. I don't know if you've been to the Santa Monica stairs. We went to Earth Cafe, then we went to Borders. This is what I bought her on our second date. You ready? 101 questions to ask before you get engaged on our second date. This is my line. I'm not here to sleep with you. I'm looking for a wife. If this is too heavy, let's stop it right here. But this book, I've done this exercise with other people and no one's met the match yet. I've answered all of them. I don't have a problem sharing it with you. I would like you to read this book. Whenever you're ready, let's meet up and go through some of the answers together. If you're comfortable. She looks at me like, this is a pretty weird guy, qualified. This is kind of strange. But if he wants to have this kind of a serious conversation, game. Week later, we went to her place. 6 hours later, we went through the questions. And I knew I was going to marry that girl. We've been together now for 13 and a half years, going on 14 years. We got 4 kids, 11, 9, 6, 19 months. And by the way, at our wedding, you know what I told my entire family? Again, everything is about managing expectations. I said, if you once come up to us and you ask me or my wife if she's pregnant, you will never see us at a family gathering ever again. It's none of your business. Getting pregnant is very sensitive and it's too much pressure on the wife. Don't do that with me. I don't like it. I said this at my wedding speech. And then I said to everybody, I don't know if we're going to be married forever. But I know for a fact we can be married for 1 year. We're going to take marriage 1 year at a time. So don't come and tell us whether we're having problems or not. I'm telling you right now in advance, we are having problems. But I think we can be married for 1 year. And what that has done to our marriage is it's almost forced both parties to have to keep improving every year. it's almost gotten both sides to be like, well, am I being a great mother? Am I being a great wife? Am I being a great husband? Am I being a great father? Am I being a good supporter? Am I understanding her pains? Am I being a good... So it's constant of that relationship with us. So question you're asking about partnership to me goes back to the same thing. Moving forward, if you get anything from my message today, list all the most important relationships in your life and ask, am I truly managing expectations the right way with this person moving forward? No. Well, I best start doing it today, or else a future conflict is coming very soon.
Wow, great answer. I want to talk briefly about media. You've done really well in the media space. Do you believe that every business is a media company?
Today, yes. Yes.
What kind of content? What does it mean? What kind of content they can create or should create? What's your take on media for a small business?
So does anybody know what was the first piece of content I ever made? Do you know the story behind it? I've never told the story. Anybody kind of knows the story or no? Do you kind of remember the first piece of content? Watch this. You're going to flip out when I tell you this. This is when I knew I have to create content. So one guy says, Pat, there's this thing called blogging. I said, what's a blog? He said, it was like, there's the blog and there's the vlog. Blog, I thought it was the guy from Ghostbusters. I thought it was like wasn't it like a scary character movie back in the days called Blob or Blah? I don't know what that was. Who remembers? Anybody knows what I'm talking about? What was the guy's name? Blob? Okay, so I thought it was like a movie. He says blogging is writing, vlogging is video, right? I said, cool. Okay, go write a blog. And there's this website called WordPress.com. I said, cool. Well, I'll get to it. This is 11 years ago, okay? So I go watch this movie called Limitless. Who remembers Limitless? Anybody seen Limitless with Bradley Cooper? Okay. So I go watch this movie. I come home like, damn, this was a sick movie. So I'm online. I'm like, is there such a thing as NZT? Okay. Anybody knows what's NZT? And the movie, that's the pill he takes where you can kind of like. So I write an article titled, Did Einstein Take NZT? And I just write 3 paragraphs on this article. I wake up in the morning. I got hundreds of emails. I'm like, what the hell are they? Everybody's asking me the same question. Do you sell NZT? Do you know anybody that has NZT? I'm like, and so now at this point, look how amateur I am. I am now conspiracy in my mind. This shit is real. There is such thing as NZT. They know. They know, and they're reaching out to me. Let me ask them. And then I realized, no, everybody read this article because I wrote the article the night the movie came out and it went viral. Okay? So a lot of people think my first content that went viral was The Life of an Entrepreneur in 90 Seconds. It was this article about NZT. So I was like, wow, the power of this. I just had so many great conversations with people about a movie. Okay, we have to create content. So now, how many of you are not comfortable on the camera? Raise your hand if you don't like the camera. Okay. How many guys are very good writers? You like writing and you're a very good writer. Fantastic. How many have a very good voice? Very good voice. Sing for us. Say something if you got a good voice, right? You raise your hand. Raise your hand if you got a very good voice. Raise your hand if you got a really good voice. Okay. So look, how many got all 3? You're good with video, you're good with writing, and you got a great voice. Raise your hand. Okay, you're the trifecta. You're like Justin Timberlake. You can sing, dance, and act, right? So whether you are or not, pick one of them today to start off with. If you don't like camera, don't worry about it. By the way, I wrote 3 years before I made a single video. I just wrote. Okay? Do audio if you don't want to do video. But if you do video, you can do all 3. But if you don't, I'll give you a few reasons. I'll give you the pain, and then I'll sell you the dream. Let me first give you the pain, because you guys seem like the type of group that likes pain. Roofing, you like pain. Okay, so how many of you, your parents have footage of you when you were a kid? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. How many of you remember the first time you saw it and you're like, man, that's pretty cool, me as a kid? Who remembers that moment when you saw it, right? Okay, so check this out. One day, my dad, who's 80 today, he calls me, he says, you got to come home. Family's coming over. You will not believe what they sent me from Iran. And I'm fired up because I'm all about this history of Iran. So I'm coming home early. What do they send us from Iran? We go home. We found video footage from 45 plus years ago. No way. This is sick. Now, my sister is 6 years older than me. So I'm sitting there and they play the clip of my sister at 13 months old. And I'm watching this. I'm like, oh my God, that is so cool. She's so cute. But guess what I'm thinking the entire time? I can't wait to see videos of myself. And I'm thinking my video is going to have better quality production. It's going to be sick. So I'm just sitting, I'm waiting. I'm like, okay, that's great. What else? No, that's it. So like any more, maybe like, no, that's it. So where's the videos of me? Oh, we didn't record you. Bro, what, you invite me to come see videos of my sister. I'm 6 years younger. You don't have a single piece of content of me? No. Isn't the quality supposed to be better? But we forgot with you. We forgot with you. That's when I knew my sister was a favorite. I knew that day, by the way. Okay? How many guys are parents and your kids are not in the room? Raise your hand. How many guys got favorites, but you'll never tell them? How many got favorites, but you never tell them, right? Never. Who's the favorite? All of you. I love you. I love you. I love all of you, right? So, here's a question. How many guys have content of your parents when they were kids? If you do, you're probably in your 20s and 30s. How many guys found a journal of your grandparents that are no longer here with us? Raise your hand if you actually, I want you to look around real quick. Look around. Don't look at me. See, can you stand up if you found journal of your grandparents? Just stand up because we are not like you. This is a very special community. Let me ask you, how many of you read through that journal and got emotional when you read a certain moment in their lives, what they were going through? Yes or no? Okay. To the rest of us that don't have that, how many of us would love to get that journal? Can I ask you a question? What would you pay for that journal? Honest question. What would you, if I right now told you, boom, Larry, bring them up, and they brought up the journals of your grandparents, honest question, put a price point to it. What would you pay for that journal? What would you pay for that journal? Give me a dollar amount. What's the number? I'm asking. 50 grand. How many guys would gladly pay 50 grand to see those journals of your grandparents, right? Guess what? Don't do that to your grandkids. Did you understand what I mean by that?
Yep.
Creating content isn't just for business. Creating content in life, there's a Jewish proverb that says every man should do three things. Write a book, plant a tree, have a son. What's the premise behind all these three things? To build something that outlives you. Creating content today, all we're caught up on is the fact that we're going to make money writing content. We're going to make money if we make a video. We're going to make, because if this video goes viral, I want to be so famous. Yeah, it's a different story. Your kids are one day going to watch that stuff. Your grandkids are one day going to say, wow, my mom at 42 was going through this. Mom, what was going on in 2023 when you wrote this article? What was going on in 2023 when you wrote this video? Is this when you guys were going through a hard time with dad? Yes. I feel it in the way you said this in the video, Mom. Look at the date here. Watch this. And you're sitting there having a moment with them in 2068. That's cool. So on that selfish side, make it, because they're going to want it. On the business side, 30 years ago, if Steve Jobs wanted to break a story to everybody, outside of his annual meeting that he would do, he would go find a magazine that was super edgy, and he would call the editor-in-chief, Playboy. He would say, I'm launching a product. I'm writing an article. I want you to come out to the headquarters in Cupertino, interview me. We're about to make a big announcement. I want it to be on Playboy. Okay, great. We're on our way. Today, if a person wants to make an announcement, what do? You put it out there, you launch it. The great equalizer years ago was the gun, where a guy my size and a 79-year-old lady who was 5'1", 117 pounds were officially equal the moment she goes like this. We're the same size. We are officially the same size, okay? Today, Logan Paul, Jake Paul, Tate, Dana White, UFC, Trump, Obama. I can go on and on and on. Everybody today who can get their message out there is competing with the bigger guys, and the bigger guys can no longer bully the little guys. The little guys who know how to use the most powerful weapon in the world today, this right here. If you know how to use the most powerful weapon in the world today, you can compete against the biggest guy in your industry. When we started our insurance company, all the big insurance companies were advertising commercials of whales. Anybody knows the insurance company that puts a whale in it? Have any one of you ever bought a life insurance policy because you saw a whale in a commercial? How funny is that, right? Or Snoopy, or a whale, or all these other animals, or a duck. I'm sitting there saying, tell a story. Tell a story of what happened with a family who bought an insurance policy. Tell a story of what happened with somebody who was struggling with roofing issues and they came to you, but talk to me from this standpoint. Too many videos are just making their argument through this. I was having a debate the other day talking to a group of pastors in the Christian community, and they're like, hey, we kind of want to get marketing to improve, can you come and help us out? I said, look, let me just tell you who's doing it the best. I said, Mormons are doing it the best. I said, you ever seen Mormons YouTube? Any Mormons in here, by the way? Raise your hand if you're a Mormon, LDS from Utah. Mormon, we got one here. Anybody else? Right there. Have you guys ever seen Mormons' YouTube channel? Yeah. Go look at their YouTube channel. Amazing. Look at the way Mormons tell stories. Look at the way they're marketing their stories. Look what's going on to Christian denomination church today. Look what's going on to Catholics today. They don't know how to tell stories. I'm not a Mormon, by the way, so I'm not pitching you to go be a Mormon. All I'm saying to you is, look at the way people are telling stories. Everybody is trying to convince people through here. This doesn't work. This does not work. This is what works. If you can get me to watch a piece of content from you and say, man, every time I watch her, she just comes across as a... By the way, why do you guys follow this guy? He's got 60-some thousand subs. He's #1 guy in the roofing business, content creator. Why do you guys follow this guy's content? Go ahead, tell us. Why do you follow his content? Raise your hand if you believe him. Do you believe him? Does he come across as trustworthy? Do you connect with him because he once used to run a business like you who sold it and transitioned? Do you connect with him? Do you like the fact that he calls out the bigger bullies who've been bullying the smaller businesses? Do you like the fact that he does that for you? How did he all of a sudden get 1,200 of you guys to come out here and all these people paying sponsorship to come to a convention center in the #1 convention city in America? How did he do it? He told stories. And other people said, I relate to this guy. I like this guy. Let me find out a little bit more about what's going on over here. Now let me buy a ticket to come here. Let me go and take my teammates over there. So content creation, if you're afraid of it, figure out one of the 3 methods to start, but don't wait too long to start and don't overcomplicate things. There's 2 things. Either be niche, which is roofing, or something you know a lot about. For me, my first set of videos, if you want to know how not to do it, go watch my first 100 videos. I talk about so many random things. Finally, I went like this. What I know a lot about is running business. Then I started writing down things that I'm interested in gradually to bring them into my audience. I started doing bodybuilding interviews, 30 million views. I started doing mob interviews, few 100 million views. I started doing CIA, FBI interviews. I started doing JFK assassination research. I started Iran videos, China videos. All of a sudden, now we got a PBD podcast. Now it's so wide, but we started off with a niche. So 1, niche industry. 2, what do you know a lot about that I can connect with you on? What is it? Is it sports? Is it cards? Is it UFC? Is it painting? Is it artwork? What is it? You would be amazed that audience is going to show up and find you out of nowhere. That's how this business works. But you have to at least start off with your first piece of content.
Love it. Really quick on books. I know you're huge in books. And if I would ask myself how Patrick is different from anyone else, is you just read a lot. And I know that. And by the way, you're probably not safe to be at my house. My kids will hate you. About 6 months ago, I made my kids read 10 pages a day, every single one of them, and exercise. I actually got an idea from you. Like, they're not allowed to get on electronics until they read 10 pages or 20 pages, depending on the age. And if you ask my 7-year-old, did he work out? He's like, yeah, what did he do? And it's a CrossFit workout, but he'll tell you 5, 4, 3, 2. I did burpees and squats. So that they have to move and they have to read. What's your relationship with the books? And give us 5 books that you recommend to this audience to read.
So The other day I was being interviewed by Megyn Kelly, and Megyn Kelly said, "You know what I like about you, Pat?" I said, "What's that?" He says, "Most of us that grew up in the traditional school route, we will never say that we had bad grades. We'll always brag about the school we went to and all this. You just straight up say what you did on your SATs and that you had a 1.8 GPA." I said, "Because that's the truth. I was good in math. I was good in calculus. I could care less about anything else." The first time in my life, guys, I finished a book cover to cover, I was 21 years old. Who was recommended the book? That was Then, This Is Now, or Of Mice of Men. Who knows those books? With Nellie petting the rabbit and kills all that. I never finished those books. Never. I never finished those books. First book I read was a book recommended by my sister called How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'm sure you've heard it before. Second or third one was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And then when I started reading these books, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is insane. So anyways, let's talk about you. What books to recommend here? A couple things. Number one, must read, Blue Ocean Strategy. If you've never read it, it's got to be at the top of your list. Blue Ocean Strategy. They've sold 4.5 million copies, and it tells you how to differentiate yourself from everybody else in roofing, specific formula on how to do it. So Blue Ocean Strategy is number one. I would probably suggest you read Power versus Force, because sometimes founders and CEOs make the mistake of feeling sorry for themselves, and it's a problem if you feel sorry for yourself. So this book, Power versus Force, really challenges you to look at people in a different way and look at yourself in a different way. So Blue Ocean Strategy, Power versus Force. Today, I would probably add Unreasonable Hospitality to it. I would add Crucial Conversations to it today. And if you like marketing and kind of want to figure out a way to even be more competitive, I would read a book called Positioning. Positioning. It's a great cover book, Positioning. But those will be my 5 recommendations.
Thank you so much. Can you do last question? We'll do pictures. The theme of the conference is fall in love with your business again. A lot of people who've been doing it for years lost that passion, lost that fire. What drives you? What do you recommend for someone who lost that initial love to their business?
Yeah. And by the way, guys, this happens in every part of your life, okay? This isn't your business that you go through with. This happens with marriage. This happens with parenting. This happens with friendship. This happens with exercise. How many of you were disciplined, hardworking, person that would go to the gym 3 to 4 days a week, maybe 5 days a week, and you did that for 5 years, but then you had a 6-month break. You put on so much weight, and you know how much work it takes to go back at it again. You just don't want to do it. Anybody's ever been there before, right? Okay. So why have you lost the passion? You haven't lost the passion. You know what it is? If I can be straight up with you, is this a tough crowd that I can just be direct with you guys a little bit, or no? I think you're chicken shit. I'm being serious. I think you're afraid because you know how much work it takes and you don't want to do it. You're flat out chicken. That's what you are. We all are. We know how much work it takes. Why after a marriage that didn't work out and was horrible, you lost half your money, you don't want to get married again? Because you're afraid. That's a natural feeling. We are afraid. Sometimes in business, we know what happened the last 2.5 years with COVID. No one's blaming you for it. That was a weird freaking 2.5 years. Nobody forced you to shut down. Nobody forced you to wear masks. Nobody forced you to force your employees to take vaccines or else. There was so much nonsense, controversy, and conflict imposed on employers like you that the last 2.5 years was a little bit hard. Yes or no? It was annoying. It was frustrating. But you're not alone. We also went through it. And so I have to run a company and manage my marriage and manage my kids and manage finances and try to stay healthy and try to keep up with politics and try to manage oh my God. Sometimes life is going to be annoying. Sometimes you and I are going to go through times that we are not necessarily enjoying our marriage for a month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Sometimes you don't like being a parent. We all love being parents to 2-year-olds. Maybe you don't like being parents to 11-year-olds. Maybe you don't like being parents to 16-year-olds when they're a girl dating a boy and, you caught them doing something in a bedroom and the door was closed and it was locked and you heard something and you're furious and you feel your daughter's no longer loyal to you. And no one knows that's why you got a bad temper and you're bitter, but you're going through shit. Life happens. And there's different seasons for it. But regardless, we have to step back and say, this is my daughter, this is my business, this is what I stand for. I'm not a chicken shit like some people. I'm going to step up and do something about this. So there's nothing more rewarding than getting in the arena and fighting. And while you're in the arena, the critics are going to say what they're going to say about you. But this is why when Mario says, Pat, we got another speaking offer that just came in. I said, Mario, I've done my full 40 years. He says, Pat, you just want to look who this guy's at the top. I said, what does he stand for? Here's the guy. I said, who's the people? They're roofers. They're roofers? Yes. These are workers. They are. Where are they based out of? Orlando. Okay, 30-minute flight, no problem. I respect hardworking people. You matter more than you know, and sometimes it's frustrating. My challenge to all of you when you come to an incredible event like this is to recreate yourself somehow, some way, just like in churches you go through becoming a born-again Christian. Sometimes in business we have to become born-again entrepreneurs. Let this event be the one for you to become born again when you leave this place.
Wow, thank you so much. Give it up for Patrick Bet David.